Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning in. Jason and I are back with week 2 episode of the Devy stock report. On the show, we're going to be discussing Devy players whose stock is on the rise and on the fall. The plan is to be here weekly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. It should be dropping midweek all week long and all during college football. So let me introduce my co-host Jason D. Rienzo from Devy Watch. Jason, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Happy to be back with you. We got week 1 in the books, and man, we got a lot to discuss, huh?
Yeah, we do. Last week it was a little slim pickings out there with week
Yeah.
0, but it's week 1 this week. And I'm going to let you start us off. We're going to be talking about 5 Devy players each, some risers, some fallers. So Jason and I started off last week. I'm going to let you kick us off this week. So let's talk about our risers first. Who do you got on as a first riser for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with low-hanging fruit real quick on the first one, and that's going to be Anthony Richardson. I just really like what we saw from him. All the hype that we heard about during the offseason really came to form in this game versus Utah. His dual threat ability is definitely elite. You can't match that size speed combination that he has. It's a threat every time he has the ball in his hands. So that is one thing that was great to see him utilize the ground game. And then also just his passing. He just looked a lot more confident, was able to get the ball out quick, didn't do overly too much, which is kind of good to see. He wasn't trying to be a superhero with his plays. He was kind of being patient, allowing things to develop. And there's definitely some areas he still needs to improve upon. But I really liked what I saw from him. And it looks like the arrow is definitely pointing up as far as him and where he could land in this class of quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. I mean, if he plays really well, I think he could be the QB1. Really, I mean,
It's
the
possible.
NFL is just salivating over his
Yeah.
traits, his size, the athleticism, the arm strength. I mean, everyone compares him to Cam Newton Jr. I could certainly see it if he really just shows all of those traits throughout the year. Because I think there's some not major, I mean, minor concerns with maybe C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, but I don't know. I could see him vaulting up there. So, certainly a riser. If you've got him on your Devy roster, congratulations. If you want to buy him right now, good luck. You're going to pay an arm and a leg.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you may have lost your window. My first riser, my stock up player, rather, I want to talk about is one of my favorite incoming freshman running backs, and that is Quinshon Judkins, 5'11", 220 pounds. Now, there was a lot of people that kind of weren't sure what Quinshon was going to do because, as we know, Zach Evans is the lead ball carrier there in Ole Miss. But I'll tell you what, I put a game film on this YouTube channel on him. He was in my top 5 freshman running backs before the season started, and I'll tell you, he didn't disappoint me. And I think his value, what I really like, Jason, the most watching him is his physicality. He's 5'11", 220 pounds. He's already got that frame. And what I really like is the fact that he got 14 carries and Zach Evans got 20. So Lane Kiffin is like saying, hey, listen, we're going to rotate you in. Yeah, the competition against Troy isn't, the best, but I'll tell you, go watch that film on this YouTube channel. And I'm telling you, the kid has got the contact balance. He's got some lateral movement. He caught one pass also. So there's a chance that he could be a pass catching back, but he gives me just, little bit of vibes of a Nick Chubb kind of runner, right? The big, thick guy that isn't going to be the fastest guy in the world, but man, his physicality is really nice. And he's got that edge to him too. Couple plays he got up, he laid the lick on some of these linebackers. I mean, this guy does not shy away from contact, and if you're in his way, good luck trying to tackle him. But he's a riser for me. The fact that he just got 14 carries week 1 and he's already going to be utilized in this pass in the running game, stock up for Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, I like him too. I was watching his high school film about a couple months back, and I posted something on Twitter like, this kid really just stands out to me before I even realized what kind of opportunity or anything he could possibly have. And I like that call. I think there's definitely something to Judkins, and we could see a big season from him if he's doing this in the first game with Zach Evans right there as well. So that's a good call.
Yeah, and everyone loves the early production, right? So the
Right.
fact that
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like on the field is good stuff. So you got another stock up player we want to talk about?
Yeah, I do. And this one's going to be a little bit questionable for me, just as far as how he projects to the NFL. But that is Utah tight end Brant Kuthi. Man, in this game, he just knew how to get into open space, separate, was very QB friendly for Cameron Rising. I just like the way he was able to kind of use strong hands and adjustments to the ball to maximize his ability and just the way he is down the seam, he's definitely a seam separator and just knows exactly where to be in zone coverage. Had a nice catch over the shoulder, running downfield into the second level through the seam, and just shows the ability that I think that could be a nice versatile type of tight end. Now he is undersized at 6'2", 219. So I see him as more of a converted slot receiver at the next level. And from what I saw of him in this game, I think he could be a fantastic addition to any NFL team if he is utilized as a slot receiver in that way. So I do like what I saw. And I think if he has a nice season, we could see a nice bump and increase in his ranking.
Yeah, I like his teammate too, Dalton Kincaid. I was kind of a little
Kincaid looked great
disappointed.
too.
Yeah, he only, I think, had 1 or 2 receptions, but I know
Yeah,
that
if you
he's
watch that
maybe a
game,
little,
though, you saw his ability to separate, though.
yeah, he bigger, a little bit more physical. One of my players, I think we talked about on one of our podcasts in the last week or two. My number 2 player is a player that I was excited about. Entered the transfer portal, coming from Virginia Tech, ended up in Kentucky. He's a senior this year. That's Tavon Robinson. He's going to be a senior, 5'11", 187 pounds. Now, I just watched his game that he played against Miami of Ohio. Again, we have to understand what the competition is. Usually week 1, week 2, we get these players going against inferior competition. But man, I'll tell you, when I watched his game, I watched this film. I'm in the process of making a game film for this YouTube channel. He was had 6 receptions for 136 yards in this game. What I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've watched any of Tavon Robinson, man, but this guy is a yak monster. I mean, when he got the ball in his hands, he was very impressive running in the second level. I'm talking about stop and start and making guys miss. And boy, he brings some athleticism, I think, to the table. Now, I can't say I've watched a lot of Robinson over the years at Virginia Tech, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this guy. Again, he comes out. He's going to be Will Levis's, primary target this year. Everyone was expecting that when he transferred to Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he is fitting the bill, and he just looks dominating out there, and he's physical. He's tough. But I just loved his involvement in the second level, and he's a punt returner too. And I think that's going to be an attractive thing to an NFL team as well, if he can, at least make that special teams roster. But Davion Robinson is a wide receiver that I think could be a sneaky riser as we head through the season to march towards the draft season.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I did my rookie replacement series, he was the one that I had in there replacing Wan'Dale Robinson, and that's all Kentucky did was remove one Robinson and put in another one, and they haven't skipped a beat, So it's kind of crazy to see that happen. And I wasn't too thrilled with what I saw from his film before he transferred. I didn't get a chance to really watch this game in depth, so I'm anxious to do that. Anxious to see your cut up of him as well. But that's pretty good, man. If they can just do that and he can just kind of fill that role, because those are some big shoes to fill with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. But he should be the primary target. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to talk about this one. So I've been talking about this guy for a while, and even though it was against Colgate, I'm anxious to talk about EJ Smith. Just good to see. He was the primary guy, and they utilized him the way they should. He had 5 receptions, 37 yards, over 100 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. Had a nice big breakaway in his first run. It's there. It's his for the taking. This is a great start. He just needs to keep that momentum going. They need to keep feeding him the ball. Thank you, Stanford, for doing the right thing. And I'm looking forward to watching EJ Smith rise this season.
Yeah, I'm sure Emmett's sitting in the sidelines, just being a proud papa, watching this kid finally get his opportunity. So yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on him as well. I'm very interested. I got a lot of shares of him in my C2C leagues. I was taking in those supplemental startup drafts only because of the name. You figure at Emmett Smith. I mean, I think of that.
I'm sure you're getting good value too, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now, but I mean, you could have gotten him for free this time last year. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So he's definitely a good player we should be talking about on a stock up, stock down, stock report show, because his stock is definitely on the rise. I've got my third player here. I'm going want to talk about is a stock up player, and it's Jatavian Sanders, a tight end from the Texas Longhorns. He's a sophomore, 6'4", 249 pounds. Really had a great game again on this YouTube channel. I put a game film out there if you want to go take a look. But listen, I'm looking at the box score from this, right? He had 6 receptions for 85 yards and 1 TD. So what do I like about Jatavian Sanders? Well, he's got that size already that you want from a tight end. But I'll tell you what, I have this sneaky suspicion that after Worthy, he's going to be the second pass catcher on this team, because they lost Neor to an injury. They're throwing the Robinson and Johnson out of the backfield, but there really there's no other legitimate elite wide receivers, on this team, and they're trying to figure it out. Ewers is going to be looking, I think, to Sanders. He did a couple dump off passes to Sanders in this game that, he watched. He played UL at Monroe, but he also had 2 really nice seam routes. You were just talking about, Cuthie. Again, I mean, the same kind of thing. I think Sanders is a stock up. He was really, a lot of people drafted him in the Devy community, in the C2C community last year, because I think he was ranked on 27 Sports as like the '1 athlete or something like that. And he
was also a 5-star, I believe.
Yeah, a 5-star as well. So, I mean, here he is, week 1, getting his opportunity. A lot of uncertainty in that wide receiver room at Texas. And I think Jatavian Sanders, and it's something also on the video that I posted. I think I included 2 or 3 blocking clips as well. This guy is engaged in blocking. I mean, maybe not the best technique I've ever seen, but man, he gives it his effort all the time, blocking for Bijan Robinson and Rashawn Johnson. So stock up for Jatavian Sanders.
Oh, yeah. We've been trying to figure out who is the tight end 3 in Devy after, Bowers and after Mayer. And there's no doubt that Sanders has the opportunity to skyrocket and possibly be that 3 when there was a tie. We're talking about Michael Trigg and a couple others. So,
right.
Yeah, Sanders, this is the kind of start you want to see and the kind of chemistry you want to see from a guy like Ewers, who's just getting started as well. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my follower at this point, and it's a guy that I know that you have discussed in depth as far as his value dropping in your eyes, and that is Devin Achane. We know now that he is not a middle of the pack type of runner. Like, he's not running up the middle. It's not happening. And even if he doesn't get the edge and he doesn't read the right gap on an outside zone stretch play, or he's not provided the opportunity, he just doesn't have the size to continue on and get into the second level unless he's relying on that elite speed. And you need more. You need more than just speed. You need to be able to actually have an idea of a highway into the second level on your own. He can create, but it didn't look like he could do that against Sam Houston. And that's a huge problem. So for me, Achane's definitely going down.
Yeah, I think he averaged 2.3 yards a carry, in that game. I actually am filming him as well, because there was another player. I wanted to do Marshall and Evans or Evan Stewart, rather, the 2 freshman wide receivers. So I was watching him, and I agree. Corey Piera and we had done a deep dive kind of film review a month ago on this YouTube channel as well, where we broke down an all 22 film, and we came away with the same conclusion you just did. I mean, he struggles. He just doesn't have the play strength at his size to be anything other in the NFL than a 3-down back. A lot of people are projecting him to be like a James Cook next year, but James Cook was bigger. He had a little bit more physicality to him. So, I mean, listen, Achane is fast, and I think that's why people are enamored with him. But you need a lot more than speed to make it in the NFL. So I like that call. Correct. My first stock down player, I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. All right, he is quarterback, obviously, from Ole Miss. And I was a little disappointed in his play. Again, I watched this game because I made the Judkins film, and I have a Evans film coming out, and I put a Jackson Dart film out too on this channel just today, if you want to go and look at all of his passes and completions. And, I just got the feeling watching him that Lane Kiffin just doesn't trust him to throw the ball deep. I mean, he averaged only 5.7 yards per pass attempt down the field. He was 18 to 27, 154 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. He did rush 4 times for 40 yards, so he did show some mobility. He had a couple good passes out there. Had a really nice, to the right sideline to Trigg, where he kind of really, looked off a defensive back. The pressure was in his face and threw a really nice ball. So, I mean, maybe the potential is there, but again, if we're looking at a value in the show of Devy players. I mean, this guy has for some reason just been up at the top of the quarterback, rankings for a lot of people, and I've just never really understood why. I know he was going to USC and he transferred and the whole 9 yards, but and then they're going to be starting Altmaier, I think, next week.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they really know who they want to go. And the fact is that he didn't come in this spring and win this job is a red flag for me. So doesn't mean that he can't end up being a really nice, quarterback in the future. But again, this is a Devy report, stock up, stock down. I mean, his stock has taken a little bit of a hit here. So you got to keep a close eye on him. If you've got shares, because there's so many people out there that are really, really high on this guy, like a top 5, 6, Devy quarterback. And he's not anywhere near that on my ranks on the Devy dashboard, but I'm hoping to see more in the future. But right now, with him not solidifying that job, he may win it in the end after 2 or 3 games. But right now, I just don't, he's got a lot of pressure on him, and it's going to be interesting to see how that, what Kiffin does as far as who he wants to play ball with this year.
I don't even think he needs to pass the ball. Just run the ball. He's got 2 outstanding running backs. So it can't be that hard of a decision. Just give it to your backs. But yeah, at the same time, we've talked about this in the past. Kiffin's system also isn't NFL friendly. They question the system in general. So that is just another flag on top of what you just discussed. So I think right now, Jackson Dart, I would just stay away from him altogether. I don't think you could even sell him. I think he's a hold until he possibly gets another opportunity and has a game. Maybe you just wait for that game and then do something with it then. But yeah, Dart, I'm out as well. I completely agree with you.
Cool.
I'm going to go with another quarterback, and I'm going to go with JT Daniels, who probably thought he had another great opportunity at West Virginia to air the ball out and showcase his ability. But, man, his ball security is not something that's good for him. He had 3 fumbles in this game, had a turnover, and I honestly think Bryce Ford-Wheaton saved him on a couple of passes. There's just not a lot that I took away from thinking that I would ever want a guy like JT Daniels on my fantasy roster. And even though we already had question marks about him, it's always good to give a guy, that fresh start if he's going to be, starting in the new place. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But in this first game against Pitt just dominated, and Daniels didn't look like he, knew what he was doing sometimes. So I'm completely out on JT Daniels.
Yeah, I think that ship has probably sailed on JT Daniels, like you said, and probably Slovis is in the same situation, trying to rebirth his, his NFL dreams. We're going to finish out here on our stock up and stock down. I've got my second stock down player, and this is a player that I was kind of down on last year and was excited to watch him last night playing Georgia Tech, and that is Mr. Will Smith, running back, 5'11", 205-pound. Running back, obviously plays for Clemson going into his sophomore year. He ran 10 times for 42 yards, averaging 4.2 yards a carry. He had 2 touchdowns, but don't let those touchdowns kind of skew you because they were short distance with, running on the left side of the offensive line, which is the better side of Clemson's offensive line. If in fact you watch the Clemson game, the right-hand side of that line is pretty rough, I think, with a couple freshmen. But I guess, again, being this a Devy value show, Will Shipley, I did some peeking around and went to a lot of different websites out there, the Devy websites, to kind of see where he's ranked. And he's still ranked relatively high in the Devy community as far as running backs. And I just have this feeling that he's just going to disappoint. I don't have any shares of Will Shipley. But what concerns me the most is the fact that, Phil Moffo, a guy that Jason, you've spoken about on a couple of our podcasts together, a guy that you're interested in, got the rock, almost as much as Will Shipley. And I was kind of expecting Will Shipley to come in and be the guy, and especially taking pressure off DJ, right? To just, run the ball. And I don't know if it's his offensive line, but here's the bottom line with Will Shipley for me. Okay. Last year, I was never impressed. I watched 4 or 5 games. I just never had any wow moments, right? I feel like when I watch running backs and wide receivers, but specifically running backs, I want a wow moment, right? I want to watch a game where, if they get stuffed a few times, the bad offensive line play, but I want to watch a running back who all of a sudden makes a dazzling cut or an explosive play, making guys miss. And you're like, okay, that's his ability. That's what he's got going on. And I just don't see that from Will Shipley. He looks like a plotter to me, and I just don't see anything exciting about his game. So for me, I'm not like giving up on the guy. And again, all these players that we're kind of down on, well, maybe not JT Daniels, but some of these guys, doesn't mean that we're out on them. It's just that his value right now is still high. If I had Will Shipley shares, I'd be looking to move him right now. Maybe not right now, but if you got 2 or 3 weeks where he's continuing to just not get the plays and he's in a timeshare, I just don't think that the coaching staff at Clemson believes that he's the best running back on this team. And if their own team doesn't feel that way, then I'm not sure that we should either.
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing I wanted to see is who they lined up at the goal line, and Shipley got both of those touchdowns. So that was something to monitor as far as opportunity wise. But again, he was kind of just walking in. There wasn't really anything special about those touchdowns. So when we did our summer scouting series, we both watched the same film and came away with the same thing that you just said. Like, there's just nothing special about him, and he's kind of just a plotter. And I agree with you. If I have Shipley, I'm looking for someone who still has that hope and a dream on him, and I'm looking to move him.
Yeah, and two, the one thing I also want to mention is he had 2 drops in this game, and that was something last year that we had talked about when we were on our podcast. And he had this little he went out on the flat, had a pass right in his hands, and he just doesn't look like a natural pass catcher. So if I got a back who I'm not who I'm not like enamored with running the ball with wow moments, and then I don't even have like a really great threat down the field in the passing game, I don't know. To me, it just adds, less excitement for that player. So, that's where I am. So, all right, I'm going to repeat my ups and downs, and then you can do the same. Again, my stock ups were Quinshon Judkins, Tavion Robinson of Kentucky, Jatavian Sanders of Texas, stock down. I got Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, and then Will Shipley of Clemson.
Yeah, so my stock up is Anthony Richardson, Brant Kuthi, EJ Smith, really excited about him. And then my stock down is Devin Achane and JT Daniels.
All right, good stuff. All right, we'll see everyone next week. Again, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of great content hitting this channel soon. So I appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you guys next week.